I could speak instead. But if you will say the word plainly that you'll never be sorry, I will thank you for it all my life." She said plainly, "That I love him." Then she broke down. Her body was shaken with sobs, and lest there should be any doubt, she cried between the sobs for Gino, Gino, Gino. He heard himself remark, "Rather! I love him too. When I can forget how he hurt me that evening, though whenever we shake hands " One of them must have moved a step or two, for when she spoke again she was already a little way apart. "You've upset me." She stifled something that was perilously near hysterics. "I thought I was past all this. You're taking it wrongly. I'm in love with Gino. Don't pass it off. I mean it crudely. You know what I mean. So laugh at me." "Laugh at love?" asked Philip. "Yes, pull it to pieces. Tell me I'm a fool, or worse that he's a cad. Say all you said when Lilia fell in love with him. That's the help I want. I dare tell you this because I like you, and because you're without passion. You look on life as a spectacle. You don't enter it. You only find it funny or beautiful. So I can trust you to cure me. Mr. Herriton, isn't it funny?" She tried to laugh herself, but became frightened and had to stop. "He's not a gentleman, nor a Christian, nor good in any way. He's never flattered me, nor honoured me, but because he's handsome, that's been enough. The son of an Italian dentist with a pretty face." She repeated the phrase as if it was a charm against passion. "Oh, Mr. Herriton, isn't it funny?" Then to his relief she began to cry. "I love him, and I'm not ashamed of it. I love him, and I'm going to Sawston, and if I mayn't speak about him to you sometimes, I shall die." In that terrible discovery Philip managed not to think of himself but of her. He did not lament. He did not even speak to her kindly, for he saw that she could not stand it. A flippant reply was what she asked and needed, something flippant and a little cynical, and indeed it was the only reply he could trust himself to make. "Perhaps it is what the books call a passing fancy?" She shook her head. Even this question was too pathetic. For as far as she knew anything about herself, she knew that her passions, once aroused, were sure. "If I saw him often," she said, "I might remember what he's like, or he might grow old. But I dare not risk it, so nothing can alter me now." "Well, if the fancy does pass, let me know." After all, he could say what he wanted. "Oh, you shall know quick enough." "But before you retire to Sawston, are you so mighty sure?" "What of?" She had stopped crying. He was treating her exactly as she had hoped. "That you and he smiled bitterly at the thought of them together. Here was the cruel antique malice of the gods, such as they once set forth against Pasiphae. Centuries of aspiration and culture, and the world could not escape it. "I was going to say, whatever have you got in common?" "Nothing, except the times we have seen each other." Again her face was crimson. He turned his own face away. "Which times?" "The time I thought you weak and heedless, and went instead of you to get the baby. That began it, as far as I know the beginning. Or it may have begun when you took us to the theatre, and I saw him mixed up with music and light, but didn't understand till the morning. Then you opened the door, and I knew why I had been so happy. Afterwards, in the church, I prayed for us all. Not for anything new, but that we might just be as we were. He with the child he loved, you and I and Harriet safe out of the place, and that I might never see him or speak to him again. I could have pulled through then. The thing was only coming near, like a wreath of smoke. It hadn't wrapped me round." "But through my fault," said Philip solemnly, "he is parted from the child he loves. And because my life was in danger, you came and saw him and spoke to him again." For the thing was even greater than she imagined. Nobody but himself would ever see round it now, and to see round it he was standing at an immense distance. He could even be glad that she had once held the beloved in her arms. "Don't talk of faults. You're my friend for ever, Mr. Herriton, I think. Only don't be charitable and shift or take the blame. Get over supposing I'm refined. That's what puzzles you. Get over that." As he spoke she seemed to be transfigured, and to have indeed no part with refinement or unrefinement any longer. Out of this wreck there was revealed to him something indestructible, something which she who had given it could never take away. "I say again, don't be charitable. If he had asked me, I might have given myself body and soul. That would have been the end of my rescue party. But all through he took me for a superior being, a goddess. I who was worshipping every inch of him and every word he spoke. And that saved me." Philip's eyes were fixed on the Campanile of Airolo. But he saw instead the fair myth of Endymion. This woman was a goddess to the end. For her no love could be degrading. She stood outside all degradation. This episode, which she thought so sordid and which was so tragic for him, remained supremely beautiful. To such a height he was lifted that, without regret, he could now have told her that he was her worshipper too. But what was the use of telling her, for all the wonderful things had happened? "Thank you," was all that he permitted himself. "Thank you for everything." She looked at him with great friendliness, for he had made her life endurable. At that moment the train entered the San Gothard tunnel. They hurried back to the carriage to close the windows, lest the smuts should get into Harriet's eyes. End of chapter 10. End. Where Angels Fear to Tread, by E. M. Forster. Read for you by Julie Pandia. November and December 2007.